Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's vOLTHA Honors, vOLTHA TST. I was just jumping ahead to the first topic. Welcome, everybody, to the vOLTHA TST of today. As usual, the call is public and recorded and will be shared live on YouTube. So please be mindful of the comments you make and the information you share. So first topic, as I said before, is the move to Honors 2.5. As you guys know, we've been running Honors 2.2 since quite some time, actually, and it's proven very valuable for us. But August 2021, which is upcoming right now, is going to be actually end of life for Honors 2.2 because the months of the support of the 2-year support are going out. So my plan was to actually switch, given that the 2.8 release is going to be the LTS release, to Honors 2.5. We always ported every commit that we made to Honors to the newer versions while working on 2.2. And so the switch was seamless. What I created was a patch that you can see over here. This is a vOLTHA Honors patch that just moves the base Honors to 2.5-latest instead of 2.2-latest. The big key difference is that we are now not bringing in by default trellis in Honors. And thus, that is why I had to change and bring in trellis as a separate dependency. This is the trellis dependency. Before merging this, I also want to merge a vOLTHA Honors vOLTHA Honors release patch, release 4.4.1, and actually move to 5.0, major release. From an API perspective, nothing changes. I've been running this. We actually been running this patch, this image that I generated out of the patch, within the hardware tests, software tests, and scale tests at ONF. And as we have seen no failures in the except like usual things that cannot really be attributed to Honors. So if everybody is okay with that, and I expect silence to be okay. So unless somebody has an argument against this, I'm gonna just go ahead and merge it. So we are looking ahead for the LTS release to include a supported version of Honors. Any comments?
Just one thing that is not directly related to the Honors version, but I had a meeting on Friday with some folks for a different project that uses Honors that have very similar requirements to load the network config and the application, etc., that we are doing in the vOLTHA infra chart right now. So we are going to move that into the Honors classic chart. I'm not sure that's going to happen before the release, but it's something that is going to happen. And it should be a transparent change for everyone in the vOLTHA community, but I just wanted to give an heads up since we're talking about Honors.
Thanks for the update, Theo. Yeah, I think that's a valuable change to make, have that included, but we'll see when that happens. Okay, anything else on the Honors 2.5 topic? Please do make sure that everybody involved in your organization knows about this change. So I'm looking at Amit, if you can, please bring it forward to the DT folks. And Serkant, Mahir, please tell it to the Turk Telecom folks and everybody else in your team. So that's my request. I'm gonna send out an email before merging the patches. So before the merge of the patches, I'll just send out an email, or right after that, I'll send out an email to everybody in the vOLTHA discuss mailing list announcing this change. Okay, any other comments? Nope. Okay, then if not, I'll switch gears and we can jump to the storage discussion, which has been very, very heated in the past week. And thanks a lot to David, for example, for testing a lot of things. So I'll let you guys take the lead on that and whatever order you prefer. Girish can, if you want to give an update, or David, if you prefer to give an update, then we can start the discussion like that.
Go ahead, Girish.
Thanks, David. So since the last meeting, I continue to work on my patches. So there were some issues, apart from the scale runs, which doesn't really test adapter restart. So there were some issues in the adapter restart scenario. So I went ahead and made some fixes for that. Meanwhile, David had been experimenting. I think David will provide update, but I'll be brief about it. So David was experimenting with the latest Bitnami etcd charts, and he suggested some configurations like auto compaction mode set to revision, auto compaction retention set to 1, and defrag every 5 minutes. So the DB was going back to its original size. So he suggested such a configuration to me, and I had that integrated to our scale runs. And I did see that the DB size was going back to roughly around 12 MB to 30 MB from the initial 100 to 130 MB size that I had seen without this setting, which is a pretty great improvement. Yeah, thanks to David for that, for experimenting all the things and giving me the configuration and the chart versions. Yeah, I mean that's very brief about it. Go ahead.
Sorry, could you please repeat what the configuration you have right now? The retention side, you said what?
So the Bitnami etcd chart version was the latest, which is 6.2.5. Auto compaction mode set to revision. Auto compaction retention set to 1. And DB is defragmented every 5 minutes.
I see. So maybe we should consider increasing a little bit the retention size. I guess it might be important about the data. So etcd always tries to guess the latest revision, but if one of the instances cannot have the latest revision, then it might be a problem. Maybe there might be some synchronization issues, I guess. I'm not sure.
I think we could increase the retention.
It might be better.
Yeah, but is the stack able to handle, if it sees some revision which is not the latest? I'm not really sure. So say, for example, I think the first goal that we said was, we really need a strongly consistent database. I mean, if you have configured some resource IDs and for some reason, you don't have the latest revision on the database and you see some older revision, are we able to reconcile at this point? I don't think so. So it doesn't really make sense, to have that setting given
this is the internal etcd revision number. So I'm not, again, if we want to use an old, take it to 2, 5, whatever, this is just how many old copies etcd is keeping in memory. So again, I don't know, we can increase it. It'll just mean more disk space.
Yeah.
I don't know what the benefit is.
Right.
I don't see any benefits in
Okay,
that older revision.
I'll take a look at that offline. Okay.
Okay.
Well, that was just a brief, status about it. I mean, it has been running on the 2OLT 16 PON port 32 subscriber per PON port AT&T subscriber job. I really don't have 100% success rate on this one. There have been some failed runs due to some timeouts, validating flows, and some have been successful. And the successful runs have, the DB size that I just mentioned. It's around 12 MB to 30 MB, which seems reasonable. Well, I need to investigate the failed runs. Why we have some timeouts during flow validation. I'm not sure if it's with my change. Yeah, I really don't have any investigation on that. Meanwhile, I also tried. I had only one chance, last Friday to try all the latest images on the hardware. All the tests failed, and that's probably something in my images or something in the setting. I haven't really investigated that, but that's the goal for this week. Get all these latest images also running successfully on hardware, and also try to get all these changes merged to the mainline as soon as possible. That's all from me. David, and also thanks to you for helping me with integrating some of these latest helping me with the charts. I'm no expert on all this chart stuff, and I got some good help from Tio as well.
No worries. I think you covered it all. I did post the source to the test code that I was using in the agenda. So if people want to see what I'm doing, basically I'm creating an etcd cluster and just banging away as fast as I can put. So it's all put only test with doing 500K puts, well, various different levels, it's all parameterized, but 500K puts with 100K keys with the compaction values and a defragmentation rate. So that's kind of what's going on. We can play with different auto compaction values. I'm doing it on revision as opposed to time. It really is just a matter of what works best for vOLTHA. So, any questions?
I have one. So do we have a rough estimate of how many writes and puts, I guess, we do in a vOLTHA with the thundering herd scenario at the startup of the 1024 subscribers per stack? Do we know? Do we have an idea?
I thought, Ken, you posted something on that.
Yeah, it's around like usually it will be close or about the revision number that we see. If I recall, it was around 47,000, I think, puts.
Okay, so that should be a lot less than 100K that David tested, which is good.
Yes, but remember we're following one scenario, right? We are just doing like the one that I did was really about actually the one that I did, it was for 512 devices. It's not the 1000 devices, and it was just letting them activate. That's it.
Okay.
And so if you go a full scenario with something in production with 1000 devices, and I don't know how much action will be happening on that part during a normal operation, but that could be much higher or not. It depends.
What you're saying is that just for the device discovery is 47K puts.
Exactly, for 512.
For 512.
Yes.
Seems excessive.
But again, we're doing, the test I've been running is 500,000 puts.
Oh yeah, okay.
With 100K keys. So it's how many keys are generated for that many ONUs and how many puts. So those are going to be the two variables.
Do we know how many keys, Ken?
Keys, I can't remember. I need to look into what approaches, but there was not tons of keys there. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
I vaguely remember conversations somewhere with someone. It was like about 30 keys per ONU or something like that.
Yeah, it was not much.
Okay, that sounds about right. So
but I think maybe the most important thing is like we know like etcd was we had failures before with the compaction and defrag, and no flows in the core and the changes that Girish did. I know, Girish, you mentioned that you're seeing some successful case and some failure cases as well.
Yeah.
All those, I know you're going to investigate, but one thing is to look is whether those are can we equate those failures to HCD, or is it something else?
Yeah, right.
One thing I noticed during my tests, the original implementation was using the same etcd client API connection for both the puts and the call to defrag, because I wasn't calling the etcd cut a lot side. And when I used that client for both of those, I did see timeout. So reusing a client between multiple calls, I was seeing that affect timeouts. So again, I'm not sure how that plays into vOLTHA, but it's possible that if we're making multiple etcd calls over the same client API connection, that can induce timeouts. It was really weird because I had my timeout set like at a minute, and the call was failing with a timeout after like 5-6 seconds, and so it was a client reuse issue, and I didn't look too deep into it. I just thought it was odd when I saw it.
Is this something that happens in general with calls, or just if you use the same client for the call to auto compaction defrag?
Again, I didn't dig into it too much, but I had all my timeouts set way high, so things shouldn't have timed out at all. I mean, we're like 1 to 5 minute timeouts, and I was getting the timeout back under 10 seconds, which I thought, okay, that doesn't make sense. So there's something at play, and I was making a defrag call and puts it using the same client, but there's something at play when a client's being reused by multiple things. And I didn't dig into it to completely understand it, but that's something to be aware of.
Have you run this without any defrag?
No, because my tests were all based on defrag.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I just didn't.
No, because I'm just wondering if we have the same client and there's no compaction and no defrag, and we just bombard it, will we still see failures?
I mean, I have to go back and change my code to do what I think is using etcd's client, not how you're supposed to. I mean, I could do that, but
because I think that would be interesting, because I think the way we handle it at the moment is actually using one etcd client. Maybe Theo, you can confirm this, but I believe it's one etcd client that vOLTHA uses.
So yeah, I guess if we're hitting via multiple threads, for example, we might want a client per thread.
That's interesting, actually. That's very
I'm not
interesting.
sure about the components, Andrea, but we're for sure using multiple etcd clients because we have multiple components ready from.
Yeah, but within the same component. I mean, within the RW core.
Yeah, that I think is the same client.
Yeah, it is the same client in the core. It's
That could be interesting.
It needs more investigation, but it's something to be aware of.
Okay. So the other thing that you mentioned, David, is that these tests you have made on top of a certain specific AWS machine.
Yes. Z1D.6x large. Z, not C. Z.
One question that I have is, do you know the disks of these machines? Like, do we know what actual disks are they using? Because one of the bottlenecks has always been the disk. And with the ONF test machines, we have a certain set of disks. I shared the details on our channel yesterday. I have no idea how good or bad they are. It's just that's the status of our machines. But if we knew on which disks they were running, we could at least compare. If we're comparing apples to oranges, or at least apples to apples, just like better apples.
I don't know the product details. Instance says 1x900 NVMe SSD with the network format. So, I don't see specifically like the vendor unless NVM lowercase e means anything to you.
Like isn't that the protocol?
Here, let me. That's what it says. I just chatted it to you.
Yep. Do you guys think we could run our scale tests on those machines and see what type of results we get? Is that something that we could somewhat easily do, or would that take a lot of time? I'm looking at Grishtail.
I mean, what are we trying to prove? I mean, by running on those.
Is our disk the bottleneck? We've always run these tests on our machines. We never run them on any other machine.
Well, I mean, they are highly capable servers. I mean, they have SSD disks as well, as far as I know. But
I know they have SSD disks. I'm just wondering if, I don't know, if the Amazon machines are faster, we could prove that the code works, and maybe it's a bottleneck of the disk, and then we need to, like, it's one more data point that we have.
Could do that, but the effort versus the usefulness of that, I'm not really sure at this point, given the time that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's definitely doable, but we don't have any Amazon-based environment for now, so it will take some organizational time to set it up and then configure it and run the test.
What's required to run your scale tests in
It's
Amazon?
pretty much a Kubernetes cluster and a few tools. Is not a lot of stuff that needs to be solved.
Okay.
It's definitely doable. It's gonna take probably half a day, somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay. I can try to find out more information about the vendor disks. I mean, if it's
maybe if I remember correctly, ATCD was suggesting some speed tests for the disks. When I looked into this, there was some suggestion on like some tools that you could use to check the speed of your disks. Maybe you could compare. We could compare the results of those to the ones we run on our machines.
I don't know the speed test, so it's only
yeah. I'll look it up. I'll look it up and
okay.
I think I can send it to you, David. The other thing is that these tests that you were mentioning are without persistency enabled. Correct.
No, I'm using persistence.
Yeah. Regarding that, I wanted to mention that the scale tests that we run are in memory. When I enabled persistence, I saw some failures on the job. I mean, it's not related to etcd, but something with the job itself. I mean, there was only one etcd replica. When I tried to increase it to 3, I mean, there were some issues. And with one etcd instance, we could not enable persistence, so there were some problems. So yeah, I need to get back.
I did run one job with the persistency enabled today. I think I sent it to Ken. This one, yeah. So I'll ping it to you, Girish, and see if you get that. You can get something out of this.
Okay.
We should maybe, because that's the target. I mean,
Yes.
effectively, the whole effort is to get this to have persistency enabled. So might be worth running with persistency enabled all the time. I'm not sure.
Right, totally agree. I think we should have etcd cluster of 3 at least, and persistency. That's done.
One difference between the machine that things are running at this time and the one that David have used is the network. The network on the machine that you're using in your lab is 1 gig, but the one that David is using, by looking on what they have on the website, look like a 10 gig. So that maybe make a difference with all the SC instances that needs to communicate to each other, to update logs and to you name it, like whatever they need to sync up. So it's,
although to be fair, I'm using a kind cluster, so it's all on the same machine.
oh, okay. Okay, that's
so the network speed is actually.
But it's a good point.
Mm-hmm. It's because you're not using the network, but in the Jenkins case, we are actually using the network.
So that's another point that we could test if we run the Amazon-based tests. Okay. So
can you run everything on one machine in Jenkins?
We need to deploy a kind cluster on that machine. We could. There's some changes that we need to make for that.
Oh, okay.
And also, to be honest, that to me is a data point I don't care about. That's never going to be the deployment. So, is it even worth doing? That's my.
Well, it's worth it to figure something. It's worth it to test the network question. I think it's a good point. I don't know if we're running into issues because of the link between the hosts. The question is, how can we? What tests can we run to kind of see if that is an issue?
I think TST had some. I mean, it's a good question. I mean, if we bring up one machine, reusing some of the scale machines for this singular cluster test, it's not really the best. I would, they will disrupt the cluster and will stop everything that Girish and Ken would do. So I don't think we can do that. Theo, Girish, any thoughts on how we could do this at ONF?
I can probably temporarily borrow a different server somewhere to test the stuff on kind.
Okay, so what are our next steps here? I guess.
No.
Go ahead, Girish. Sorry.
At this point, I mean, we really don't know if etcd is the problem with the failures that we are seeing on the test. So the first thing would be to investigate why we are seeing these failures during flow validation. And then if we strongly feel that it's an HCD problem, then probably it's trying all this stuff.
So the first thing to do there is, and I was discussing it earlier with Ken, to increase the core timeout. The things we have seen in the past is that whenever flows were kind of the issue, it was a put to a TCD issue. And that would go quote unquote away if you extended the timeout to 60 seconds. So that's one thing. But in parallel, I think we can do different things. For example, David, if you don't mind checking out that reusing of the client, I think that's an interesting step.
Yep, I can try that. And again, I didn't see it when I use the same client for all the puts. I only saw it when I use the same client for puts and defrag.
Okay, let's just make sure of that.
Yeah, I can try to play around with it a little bit and see what I get.
David, do you do both puts and gets?
I do not. I do just do puts right now. That was
okay.
If we want to continue this, yeah, that would be something to add. Some get threads.
It'd be interesting to see if like defrag on the same client is causing this timeout. Would get on the same client also cause that problem?
Again, I can run some tests to see if we get timeouts on gets or with gets.
But so David is trying defrag. I mean, we are doing defrag from outside vOLTHA. I mean, there is a separate cron job.
Indeed, but
uses the HCD cuttle, command on the.
Indeed.
Right. So if you're using a separate command,
Yeah.
you're not going to be hitting the same problem I saw, at least in the same way.
Yeah.
But
if you are again, I don't know. What I can try is running some gets and puts using the same client, seeing if that causes an issue. Because again, it was some issue when the client reuse.
Yep.
So you'll have to look at that.
Yeah, exactly. Just maybe reusing the client, not for just puts, but puts and reads, or across puts within a certain time. Maybe the reusing of the client across threads is the issue, independently of what that thread is exactly doing.
Yeah, I'll do a little reading on that too. It's something definitely with client reuse.
Okay, I'll find out if there is an issue with the disk stuff and see if there is a disk test that we can use. And that we can run on our tests, on our machines and on the AWS machines. The other avenue, so are we kind of exhausted on the TCD side, or there are other comments? Okay, if there are no other comments, the other avenue that I talked to Surf and we want to test out, just exploratory. We have never tested the Redis stuff at ONF for various reasons. So even though we might decide not to use it, I think it's valuable testing this. We think it's valuable testing it. So in the next week or so, that's what Matteo's gonna do. I sent him over the patches from Circuit, the Helm chart and all of the other patches that were done some time ago from Circuit on including Redis in vOLTHA instead of a TCD or alongside a TCD. So we can see. This is by no means the final choice that we go for Redis, but at least we have some comparison. The one thing that I want to get straight is exactly the scenario we want to test. Because what I would prefer is to keep the infrastructure separated from the stack, meaning a one Redis cluster per infrastructure, meaning per 10 Volta stacks at the moment. But I know that you guys at Netsia, Serkan, Mahir, the folks at Netsia, have tested with one Redis instance, not even cluster, like one instance per stack. So what's it going to be? Are we testing a 3-node Redis cluster with 10 stacks, or are we testing a one instance Redis node per stack?
So we are testing 3 Redis pods, which are set up like one master and 2 Sentinel Redis pods. So for each stack, there are 3 Redis pods.
Okay.
So in our setup, we create vOLTHA stack with Redis instances. So now the infrastructure is with the vOLTHA stack. So we separated, we separated the infrastructure. Yeah.
Okay, and persistency is turned off.
Yes, persistency is turned on. Yes, correct. I was trying without persistency, but later I realized that without persistency, the Redis pod restarts doesn't work correctly. So I switched to turning on the persistency. And also experimenting this strongly consistent thing. So I'll also plan to give the test results to you guys as soon as possible. So what I am trying to do is, while inserting 1,100 keys, 100,000 keys, I am restarting the master instance and see if there are any differences between the Redis pods. I hope my voice didn't cut out because I'm driving right
I think we lost Serkan for a little bit, but I think we understood what you're testing, what you're doing. So what you're saying is that we should test with 3 nodes per stack. Okay, if that is what you guys are suggesting and testing with, then let's go for that. I think we can start with 1,000.
Do you still hear me?
We can hear you now, Serkan. Yes.
Okay, great. So I may need to update the Redis versions in the charts, because now I'm using a different version. Actually, I'm using the latest version, so you just need to update the charts.
Okay, if you don't mind, whenever we end the meeting, please do take it offline with Theo. So you guys should work more closely together to test this and see what we do.
Okay. Great.
It would be very interesting to understand that 1,000 keys put with master restart. Let's see what results those bring up. I do agree that independently of the backend choice of the database, we should get those optimizations that Girish and Ken worked on in as soon as possible, because those are good optimization nonetheless. If it's going to be less space in a TCD, it's going to be less space in Redis. So that's good.
Yes, I agree.
So I think the next steps as a whole are for Girish and Ken to polish those patches, make sure that they run both on our skill tests consistently and on our hardware and BBSIM based tests consistently. Today, I'm gonna merge the honors patch so you can go ahead and use them for custom testing of these images. Maybe choose one hardware pod, not all of them, Girish, if you can, after you have done the validation on your testbed. David, I guess is focusing on these set of tests on Amazon that he's working on. Myself as the disk, and Theo and Serkant, the Redis. And as usual, we can reassess on a day-to-day basis on our Slack and next week. How does that sound for everybody?
Sounds good, but yeah, I wanted to give some heads up about the my changes.
Yeah.
So the tech profile module was more or less rewritten, and some of the APIs changed as well. So that would mean no backward compatibility at all. So now we are at the V4 version of the vOLTHA libgo. Should that change to V5, or should I just create a different tech profile module as well? Right now we are at tech profile. Change that to tech profile V2 or something like that, or just change the API version.
Quick question. What are the changes? Like when you say API changes, can you elaborate a little bit?
The tech profile module is exposing some APIs towards adapter to manage tech profile instance, such things. So the APIs had to change a bit. There were some input parameters to these APIs that were added. In some cases they were removed. So that meant no backward compatibility.
So, but these are only in internal facing APIs.
No, these are external facing. So the vOLTHA libgo, is exposing some tech profile APIs to be used by the adapters.
No. When I meant internal facing APIs, these are not like core to northbound
no
APIs. These are vOLTHA service to vOLTHA service APIs.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I would be a little bit more worried if there were outwards facing APIs, such as gRPC to the northbound.
And there will be some. So the tech profile template had some issues. I mean, this has been there all along. I mean, there were some issues with the queue definitions. I could go to those details. I'm not sure I can pull that. So the tech profile template changed a bit, especially the queue definition format. That would definitely impact the operators. I mean, the old template might not work. So that's something that has to be taken care as well. Let me try to fetch that information. Give me a minute.
Well, I will say this is definitely a major version bump.
Indeed, absolutely. I'm not worried at all for the internal facing APIs. We changed the API in the version in vOLTHA nonetheless. So this release, so it's fine. A little bit more worried about this outwards gRPC operator facing APIs. I think we're fine. We can do that. It's just we need to be very careful in communicating these to everybody. So we can bump the major version, just go to 5. That's fine. We need to make sure that everybody's aware of what those changes entail.
Right. I could write a detailed mail about the change. At this point, I'm not able to pull the information that I need. But there were some minor changes to the tech profile template regarding the queue definition. So Yeah, this is something that people have to take care of when they migrate to a newer version of the VOLTHA stack after this release.
Yep, that's fine. Yep.
Any comments from anyone else?
Yeah, so just one thought on that. So for the future, if we again get into situations like this, right, which we most probably will, of updating the tech profile. So should we think about versioning it?
Absolutely.
So that we could have rolling upgrades even through the change of tech profile formats.
I think that's probably a good idea for a lot of our data.
Yes, I would agree to that. Although the tech profile template has a version field, this is not strictly interpreted at the library right now. Although we would have preferred that.
Okay. Is this versioning something that you guys would like to be put in right now?
Yeah, I mean that was my next question. So
I mean, you can always say, look, for the first version, we're not going to have it because then when we actually add a version, the first version is implicit. But my preference would be put it in as soon as possible and use it, because then you could at least say, even do a simple version check right at the beginning. Hey, this is not a version I understand, and not use it.
did I hear that we want the change now? I mean, if so, I can work on that.
I would say give priority to the rest of the stuff. When everything else is ready, if you have the time, you can work on this as well. How does that sound?
Reasonable.
I think that's all right. My preference is to have this change in as well, especially that we're going LTS, right? So we don't know, like, it's in release 2.9 or after that, like, to be backward compatible, will we have to have this check on that version?
Okay.
Yep.
Sure, sounds good. Let me work on that. It shouldn't be a big change, so I can try to put that in as soon as possible.
Okay,
and it'll be part of this release.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. Anything else on this, or are we set for the next week of work?
Yes, sounds good for me. Yeah, I think we have a lot of work cut out.
Okay, sounds good. A little bit of an update on a few other things that we were working on. The multi-uni support. There's a few patches that have been merged. There's a few upcoming one. I think if everybody can take a look at the outstanding couple of patches that we have over here for the multi-uni support in the OpenONU Go. And there's been a few also for BBSim. I think this is actually ready for review. Is that right, Theo?
I don't remember the numbers, but one is ready for review. One is still a work in progress, but they're clearly marked in Gerrit. They're both working. Just the second one still needs the unit test to be updated to match the changes. I'm mostly done there. I'll work on those this week in parallel with the
okay. On that, a little bit of a note. We found another issue in how meters are assigned in ONOS. So we might add annotations to the flows as well. I worked on it today. I talked to Yazin, if I'm not mistaken, from Netsia, and we've been going a little back and forth on what's the best solution for that. But I think we came up with the possible use case. It's not really the nicest thing ever, but with the current APIs that we have and flow objectives and flows and pipeliners in ONOS, that's kind of the only way we can handle this. So I'll work on that with him. I guess that's to say the solution is not yet really complete. Mahir, Serkan, do you want to share anything else?
Actually, not too much, but I mean, I don't know what you talked about, Yasin, but this is, I think, I mean, finding a solution that fits to the current community code base and also our, I mean, telecom solution. If you can do, I mean, find a solution that fits both of them.
Yeah, so I can go a little bit into detail of that. So the issue really is that whenever you have a meter that takes into account both, so whenever you have a meter, right now that meter was applied to the flow objective, and it was used for both the OLT and the ONU. Right now, given that we are having multi-uni, you can actually have multiple meters per ONU, and that, with the current abstraction of 1 meter per flow objective, did not really cut it. Meaning that you did not have the capability to say, okay, I need all these meters to be applied for these flow. 1 for the upstream, 1 for the downstream, 1 for the 2 for the upstream, 2 for the downstream, 1 for the ONU and 1 for the OLT, because it's for the ONU uni. So the way we are working around this is using annotations in the meters where you could specify if it's for the OLT or if it's for the ONU, and in the flow objective where you could specify for which device to actually use which meter. That's the solution that we are coming up with. I still have to look at the code that Yazin will submit and see if it's okay. But as a general concept, that's what we're going to do.
Okay, I'll check with Yasin also, and if required, we can talk offline.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, no problem. Okay. Are there any other big missing pieces in here?
No, I think, and there are 2 pages now in ONU adapter, Golang adapter,
yes,
in review. So yeah,
this one and this one.
Yeah, they passed the hardware test and also they're ready to review it and merge.
Yeah, I have to review this one. I left a few comments. If anybody could take a look, that would be appreciated. Okay, so maybe before we break, just as a reminder, we have not yet decided the date. I have to discuss it with the ONF folks. But pending the etcd discussion, which is pending, which is something that we'll see how it goes in the next few weeks, I was aiming for June 17th, 16th code freeze. So 15 days effectively from now, and 2 weeks from now, give or take. That is, again, pending the etcd release, etcd storage discussion, which we have 2 weeks to find some solution, I guess, for. Hopefully, a combination of all the efforts that we're taking will yield some results. We could push that a little back if we need a little bit more time, possibly to somewhere around the 22nd, the 23rd. We'll see. But yet again, we don't have that much time left, so let's push to get everything that we need to get done. And hopefully we can get this LTS out. Okay, any more questions or comments? No? Okay, then if not, I'd like to thank everybody for participating, and I'll publish the recording as usual. Sorry for being late on the last two ones. And I'll talk to you on Slack and next week. Cheers. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Everyone, cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.